to this demonstration of an NBA Most Valuable Player Tracking Dashboard developed for Piraeus Consulting's PowerBI competition. The data for this report comes from NBA.com, and the purpose is to help figure out who is the best player in the NBA. Right now it's fairly early in the season, but to start off we might take a look at the general metrics that you would use to assess a player, such as rebounds, assists, steals, and points. Right now I'm sorting by points, and you see guys like Steph Curry, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook rise to the top. Another common metric that's used to assess a player's impact is the plus-minus metric. This metric assesses how well a player's team does while he's on the court. In this case, the Warriors have done so well, they're undefeated so far this season, and you can see that a bunch of Warriors rise to the top, mainly because the team is so good, not necessarily because Andre Iguodala is the second best player in the NBA. In addition to the plus-minus metric, I use something here called the PIGGY metric. This is player in-game impact, and this leverages NBA.com's calculations for a team's likelihood to win at any point and attributes changes in that likelihood to a player's individual performance. For instance, if James Harden is in a 50-50 game and he were to hit a three-pointer and that were to increase his team's likelihood of winning by 1%, that 1% gets attributed to him because he's the one who hit the basket. Similarly, if he were to miss the basket or give up a turnover and therefore decrease his team's likelihood of winning, that negative impact would also reflect on him. Those are summed over time and across games, and overall the players who have the most positive impact on their team's likelihood of winning rise to the top. Once we've decided which player we want to analyze, we can move on to this view, which is a much more detailed view of what that player's individual skill sets are. Here, again, we're looking at James Harden, and you can see the high-level metrics that we had on the last page. But in addition to that, we break down those metrics by individual games and individual opponents here. We track his field goal shooting percentages across time and across individual games. And then we also check how well James Harden is at shooting from different parts of the court. This chart is called a synoptic panel, and it's a heat map showing which places on the court a player is best at shooting from based off of shooting percentage. As you can see, James Harden doesn't do great shooting from the corners. He's only hitting about 8.3% from here. We can click on this quadrant down here, and it filters down. He hasn't taken many shots, but he's only made one of those shots, which is probably why he seems to avoid shooting from there. Instead, you can see there's a high volume of shots that he's taking from this sector and this sector whenever he shoots threes. So that's probably why, because he knows he can't hit those shots from the corner, so he tends to favor these two areas where he shoots a lot better from. The final view here is a side-by-side comparison. I'm comparing the two top candidates last year for MVP, James Harden and Steph Curry. Right now, James Harden leads in our in-game performance metric with 21.43 compared to Steph Curry's 17.96. But overall, that's probably impacted by the fact that Steph Curry's not in nearly as many close games as James Harden is. If James hits a three-pointer late in a very close game, that's going to drastically increase his team's chances of winning. Whereas Steph Curry plays in a lot of blowout games, and a lot of those garbage points at the end of the game don't have a huge impact. Additionally, we can see that from a shot chart perspective, there's really no comparison between the two players. James does not shoot nearly as well from three. He plays a lot better from under the basket, whereas Steph Curry is shooting well from pretty much any quadrant of the court, with the exception of this little area where he only shoots about 10%. But overall, he's a much more well-rounded player, and he would be my choice at this point for MVP.